All right, why don't we jump right into our headline topic today? On Tuesday, Unity announced the Unity runtime fee, which will be charged to developers every time a Unity game is installed, starting in January of next year. The fee only applies to games that meet both the revenue and installation threshold. So you can check the fee schedule by clicking this link that I haven't provided to you guys, but it's definitely in my document. I'm sure if you Google it, you'll come up with it. After which, they will be charged up to 20 cents per new installation. Not retroactive, new installation. That is, I don't want to use the bleep button too early in the show, but that is something up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. This is like the most abusable system I think I've pretty much ever heard of in this field.
Free games with no monetization will be exempt, but in the wake of the announcement, hordes of developers have pointed out that the new fees could be absolutely disastrous for low-cost or free-to-play games with large player bases but limited revenue. Such games could wind up owing more money than they make. Devs also raised the possibility that angry players could punish developers by repeatedly uninstalling. Oh, my word. I thought it was per new install. Every single time?
Yes.
So I could uninstall and reinstall a game.
So that's why I said this is going to be
What is their possible justification for this? They don't even pay for the bandwidth.
And you know how gamers are, right?
Even Valve doesn't charge for every install.
No.
And they're the ones actually ponying up the bandwidth.
Yeah.
What possible justification could... Oh, sorry.
And think about how...
No, we're not done yet. We need to get through the thing.
Think about how passionate gamers are.
No, we get through the thing. Let's get through the thing. Okay.
All right.
I was mad enough, and I thought this. I don't know what I thought it was. That just didn't seem possible. That it could be that stupid. I just didn't. Okay, hold on.
I think they've walked that back.
Unity says this kind of abuse would be addressed by their existing fraud detection system. Well, okay, so what? You're going to take care of me? This is basically the mob telling you that, oh, don't worry, we're going to make sure that, Johnny Two-Step doesn't collect protection money too many times this month. What are you talking about?
Which, by the way, I don't think they ever actually give any details on how that works.
I'm supposed to trust you?
Yeah.
After you just... Several indie game devs have announced that they will be switching to other game engines or pulling their games from sale as of 2021. From sale. This has a semicolon. As of 2021, Unity claimed that its game engine was used to develop approximately 50% of all games. Redditors discovered that Unity Technologies silently deleted a clause in their licensing agreement that would have exempted games released before the new fees take effect in January. Then, Unity deleted the GitHub repository that tracked such changes. This is incredibly scummy. This just keeps getting worse.
Oh, yeah.
And there's still like 2 more. Oh, goodness gracious. There's still 4 more paragraphs to read through. It probably gets better. It doesn't get better, does it?
A little bit, actually.
Okay. The likely motivation for this change is that Unity hasn't had positive revenue in any financial quarter over the last 3 years and lost nearly $1 billion over the past 4 quarters. Oh, okay. Much of Unity's income comes from helping sell mobile game ads, which is typically volatile and has been hit heavily by recent privacy initiatives. There has likewise been controversy over Unity Technologies' leadership, including CEO John
Riccitiello?
I think 2 C's. Whatever. I'm really bad with name pronunciation. So John. Apparently selling large amounts of Unity stock in the 2 weeks before the announcement of the new fees.
So did, by the way, a lot of other key actors at the company, not just him. But keep going.
Yeah, so this is a guy who, during a 2011 investor meeting, floated the idea of charging players $1 to reload their gun.
To be clear on that statement...
That's probably a joke.
Not 100%.
Oh, no.
But to be clear on that statement, it was, I believe... Yeah, it was an unofficial recording of a meeting. And he was saying, if you're like 6 hours into a play session and you go to reload your gun and it asks you for $1 to pay for it, you are in a position where you are more likely to accept that payment.
I see.
Which is still hyper scummy.
but accurate,
it's
I guess.
technically slightly different. I don't know. That's going off of memory. I think it's slightly different than that, but it's.
Since the backlash started, Unity has clarified some things. They expect that 90% of their customers will not be affected by these changes. Okay. Reinstalls, fraudulent installs. What is a fraudulent install? Piracy? I don't know. Trials, demos, and charity bundle installs will not be counted as a new install. So what? Is it? Are we going to see a fresh resurgence in Humble Bundles then? Because is that a charity install? If it could
there's some
be
amount of money going
partially
towards
charity, I don't know.
Yeah.
Web and streaming games don't count. Okay, so I'm having a hard time figuring out what does count. So is it just on the first install? In which case,
No.
well, if a reinstall doesn't count.
Well, I think that was, if I remember correctly, this was, so this is clarified or whatever. I believe it originally fully included reinstalls, and then they walked that back. That's why I
Okay.
said I think it's gotten better, because I do think that has happened. I'm
Riley
not
saw
100%
tweets from
certain.
some developers who apparently met with Unity representatives and said they have a little bit of hope again. So we'll see what Unity has to say next week. But I think that if we were going to put together a picture.
Okay, sorry. D. Hollinger, I think this is correct, which is why
Yeah.
I'm calling it out, because I've read this elsewhere. They walked back the every install language, but the walking back walks it back on a single device. So every single time you have a new device, that would count as an additional install. I suspect this doesn't necessarily mean new device. I suspect this means like effectively operating system. Like, I bet you if you have a computer and you
Yeah.
reinstall your operating system, I bet you it's going to ding again. I don't know that.
Yeah, it's hard to say because Microsoft manages to get the licensing for Windows to tie
And
into the
it's-
motherboard ID
And it's
somehow.
definitely possible for them to do that.
Yeah, it's just
I
a matter
just-
of whether they would want to.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think the bigger question is, especially there is a big difference between doing something and then it being a mistake and you walking it back and, fine, that's one thing. And preemptively covering your tracks and then doing it.
I also, so yes, I think them doing this in the first place at all is super scummy.
Right, but they preemptively covered their tracks. It's like if you did something and someone found it in your Chrome history and you're like, I didn't know I wasn't supposed to look at that. You kind of go, okay. But
if you know that their
walk
Chrome
in
history was
and they're in an
deleted-
incognito window and you're like, okay,
Not only were you doing it, but you were trying to hide it.
exactly.
Makes it worse. Yeah.
That's exactly what I mean. I mean your okay, I didn't think this through defense doesn't really
work.
It rings kind of hollow.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. What was I going to say? There was something.
Someone's saying there's no excuse for this. Please don't even try. Did I say there's an excuse
Neither
for
of
this?
us are trying to excuse it.
Nobody said that at all.
What I was
I said
saying-
is that trying to hide it ahead of time makes it worse. I didn't say that it wasn't already bad.
And what I said was that it has the situation has potentially improved, not that it's good now. Improve doesn't mean good, to be very clear. There's been a lot of major pushback. One that I thought was pretty interesting is from oh my goodness, I can't use Twitter properly on this computer.
Oh, I signed in.
Okay, look up Slay the Spire, or I think their company name is Megacrit. Megacrit? Yeah, Megacrit.
If I'd thought of it, I'd have named my company. That's a cool company name.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
Okay, Megacrit. Here we go. All right, what am I looking for?
They should have a tweet fairly recently. I got it. Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Oh, okay, sure. Well, you're on it.
Yep. There we go. Oh, we can't see it all, but close. The Megacrit team has been hard at work these past 2+ years on a new game. Their first game, as far as my understanding goes, which is Slay the Spire, just killed. It sold a crazy amount of copies of Amazing Game. Oh, there's a big swear word on the screen. Actually, you could use us to cover that up.
It's fine. I'm
Sure.
over it.
They've been
It's true what they said.
They've been at work these past 2+ years on a new game. But unlike with Slay the Spire, the engine we have been developing it in is Unity. The retroactive pricing structure of runtime fees is not only harmful in a myriad of ways to developers, especially indies, it is also a violation of trust. We believe Unity is fully aware of this, seeing that they have gone so far as to remove their TOS from GitHub. Despite the immense amount of time and effort our team has already poured into developing our new title, we will be migrating to a new engine unless the changes are completely reverted and TOS protections put in place. We have never made a public statement before. That is how badly up. Which I thought was great. I thought that was very well said, to be honest.
Yeah, they leave the door open for Unity to fix this.
Yeah, which is good.
Which is good.
Yeah. But they also make their stance on it very clear. And like, yeah. It's also like a big move to abandon 2 years of development. It's not really, because like some of it's going to be able to transfer over, but not everything. I don't know. Some people have made, I always forget how to pronounce it. How do you say it, Dan?
What? Godot?
Godot. Okay, sure. Some people have made, as far as I know, Unity to Godot like transfer tools to help you migrate over, which is cool. I think this has got to be great for Godot.
So just a quick correction. Someone in Twitch chat said that the premeditation is the difference between murder and manslaughter. It's actually the difference between first-degree murder and second-degree murder.
Is that an American
thing? I wanted to clarify that. It's definitely a Canadian and American thing.
Okay.
I don't know about elsewhere in the world, but here, I actually also don't know about Mexico, but as far as I know, Canada and the U.S., first-degree murder is premeditated. It's planned. And that's really, really bad. Second-degree murder is also really, really bad because you definitely still intentionally killed someone. But there is some room.
There's a difference between premeditated and
there's a little bit more leniency for, in particular, something like a crime of passion, which could take place in a time when someone is understandably in a very intense emotional state, such as, walking in on a loved one cheating with someone or something like that. There's a bit more leeway in terms of sentencing there compared to like, you've got like a whole drawn out plan, and you've clearly been working on this for months. You are a cold-blooded killer. And then manslaughter is without the intent. You didn't intend, but someone's still dead. So you got to pay the price.
I think you'll probably often see that in like automotive accidents and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That sort of thing. So we're talking about the difference between being a cold-blooded, premeditated killer and, murdering someone, but like it was impulsive. It was in the heat of the moment or something like that.
Now I have an interesting called it moment.
How much should we charge them to reload their gun and kill again? $1? Is that the right price? If you ask Chris Rock, it'd be like $5,000.
Yeah.
Or what was the bid he did? How much does Chris Rock think bullets should cost? I forget. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. We talked about John, don't fully know how to pronounce his last name, on WAN Show before, because we talked about when he first got the job at Unity. This was a show a long time ago. I don't know, 3 years ago, whatever. Because at the time, and the quote about the paying to reload your gun thing was when he worked back at EA.
Oh, of course he's from EA. That makes sense.
Yeah. So we talked about how he went from EA to Unity, and we talked on the show about how we thought this would be a really bad thing. So as much as I'm not good at it, and I just dabble as a hobby, every once in a while I play around with game engines because I think they're just interesting. I used to mess around with RPG Maker when I was like 12, and, I just still mess around every once in a while, see what I can do. I used to mess around in Unity, and when we covered that news on the show, I switched to messing around in Unreal Engine because I was like, this is gonna go bad. I'm out. Not that my stake in this matters at all.
Yeah, he'll never make a game.
No
offense.
No, I won't.
Yeah, I know.
I have no intention to.
Yeah.
I just find it fun to mess around with. But like, I don't know. This was definitely gonna go poorly. Now, there's been some interesting Reddit threads, and a lot of this is still developing. So I think the WAN Show writers did a great job, to be very clear, but I don't think this is in here because I think this Reddit thread's like super new. But there's an interesting Reddit thread talking about how they think it's less of maybe some of, but it's less of John's influence and it's more of the new board's influence because
So-
Unity went open,
Can I
public, whatever.
can I jump in and kind of advocate for Unity for a second here?
Oh boy.
They're losing money. What should they do?
This is definitely the wrong way to do it.
Yeah, I know, but we agree on that.
I don't know enough about like game engine models. I've always thought they're like a little weird.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Unreal is considered more expensive. My understanding of Unreal's licensing fees is that, like Unity, it doesn't really cost until it costs.
Yeah.
So
I would actually defend that. I've always thought that's kind of cool.
yeah, I've always thought that that's pretty cool. So it's in the same way that gaming companies milk their whales, the gaming engine companies milk their whales. Whale milk. I mean, it's a thing.
Probably think it's Star Wars.
Someone's probably consumed it. Do you think it's any good? I mean, game companies love it.
Oh my god. Yeah, so I'm just going to derail completely and go to mine. So this is Unreal Engine's setup. So standard license is free to get started. Very cool. And it says on it, best for small teams or projects, hobbyists, and learning. And I have always loved that these tools are free for learning. That's like kind of wild to me. Like, I don't think you can get Photoshop for free for learning.
Nope. I think SolidWorks finally has a much... No, hold on. They have a much, much less expensive version, but you cannot commercialize it for more than $2,000 US, or you cannot make more than $2,000 US using it. I have no idea how they enforce that. Maybe they have some way, or maybe it's honor system. I'm not sure. I guess if they catch you, you probably get in lots of trouble somehow or something. But they at least have an affordable one now. But I only bring it up because my understanding is they basically had nothing before, and I can't think of another industry where you basically just, unless you're in school, where you can basically just, as a hobbyist, as a self-learner, just use the tools for free, like the full fat professional versions of the tools for free. Now, to be clear, not every game design tool is free for you to just use. I mean, nobody's going to let you just use Maya for free, but at least the engines themselves are accessible to individual hobbyists. So you were having a look at the Unreal pricing tiers. When do you have to pay then?
Okay, standard license for creators and publishers who don't require premium support or custom terms, also suitable for students and educators, free to get started, free to download, and free to use in many cases. See the FAQ when royalties apply. Okay, so we're going to have to dig through that. Includes the engine, the entire Quixel Megascans library, all learning materials, which are very good. That's the part that I enjoy doing these days. It's just going through the learning things and just having fun, having it guide me on how to use the tool. And community-based support. So I don't know what's in the FAQ, but I think it's like they skim a certain percent on sales, something like that.
Yes.
And then, wow, I didn't know it was that high. I complain about per seat pricing for us. Enterprise program for non-games professionals seeking premium support, private training, and or custom licensing terms.
That sounds very expensive.
It's $1,500 per seat per year.
Per year. Oh, that's...
Per year actually makes that a lot easier. I'm used to seeing those in per month.
Yeah, that's not as bad as I thought it would be.
Yeah, because just G Suite is like $300 a year.
Yeah, and do we get any support?
Actually, yes, but honestly, I think that's because they know who we are.
Oh.
I think.
Well, we don't know for sure. Let's just say we don't know for sure.
I will say the support that I've had from Google recently, like very recently, has actually been amazing. There's two people at Google that have been extremely helpful recently, helping with like the merge that I'm working on and stuff like that. They've been awesome. So, yeah. And it scales up from there. I have also heard that Unreal is the expensive one. And I don't know I don't feel like diving into their FAQ and stuff like that, but as far as my understanding goes, it is the expensive option. and that is a lot per seat. That does say for non-games professionals. For game development professionals, it's a custom license that they don't show a price for. It says negotiable terms, so you probably have to talk to them. So I don't know. One interesting thing, though, Godot, did I say it right? There you go. Godot is free.
Cool.
Just free. And that's what people are rushing towards, as far as I know.
I saw people in chat point out that Unity has paid its executives exorbitant amounts of money. Like someone threw out the number $150 million, which is obviously gross when they're losing money. I don't personally see why executives should make money when the company is not making money and they're one job. You have one job. You don't actually code anything. Your job is to make sure the company makes money. Okay. But I do want to point out that still doesn't fix the problem. You have however many, what was it? They've lost $1 billion in the last 4 quarters. You have $1 billion hole in the boat. You're not going to plug it with $150 million of executive pay.
Was that $150 million executive pay for one person or the whole suite?
That was a whole bunch of them. I don't know if it was the whole suite, but someone said, yeah, a bunch of them made like $150 million or something like that.
Unreal is 5% royalty over $1 million USD.
Yeah, okay. So let's go back to Unity then.
That doesn't actually sound that bad.
And I'll pose my question again. What do? They are losing money. I think we all agree we don't want them to go after the very, very small devs who are just scraping by with a team of 3 people or whatever else. They have to extract more money from the devs who are selling a lot of copies of their games. I mean, is it? I mean, I have a couple of ideas, but I just want to know, what would you have them do? Because they obviously are going to try to extract more money from the bigger devs who are using their product. But how should they do it?
I have to break down their whole thing and try to analyze it. But the price per install stuff is, I know this is not the answer you're looking for. It's just not the path.
I know, but...
I know. But these things, I think the problem with answering this is that licensing and fee setups that are negotiable are very difficult to figure out on the outside.
Yeah,
because what I would say is like things like bandwidth contracts at big CDNs and all this other type of stuff is they're always cloak and dagger, effectively.
Completely opaque.
I know people personally, and I'm not talking about them. I know people personally that have gotten over 50% discounts on what is publicly shown on sites.
Yep.
So like, it's all just
smoke and mirrors.
Yeah. None of it matters. So when we start getting into these enterprise tiers where you are negotiating, like this Unreal thing, for professional game development, yeah, there's no public number. Contact us and we'll negotiate a term. How do we even comment on like? Sure. We have no idea what people are actually paying.
Well, there's one thing that we can comment on. I'll say this much. If Unity wanted to increase their take from these developers, well, they should have done it on a going forward basis.
Also that.
So if they wanted to, and I'm not going to say that per reinstall is the right way to do it, because anytime that the developer is charging once when the game is purchased, you can't expect them to keep paying you after that. Like you said before, they could end up paying more in Unity fees than they made on the game in the first place.
There is genuinely a slice of people that can land in that slot.
Obviously ridiculous. So it should always be based on some kind of sanity checked math where it has to be some proportion of the actual money someone made. Otherwise, how are we even having a conversation right now? But the more important thing is, if they wanted to create a new fee structure, it had to be done on a going forward basis. I don't see how it can continue to be legal to unilaterally change a contract. How is it even possible that when I have a Netflix subscription, so bringing it back to something that affects everyone, you might be sitting there going, okay, well, I'm not a game developer. This doesn't affect me. But do you have a Netflix subscription? Okay, a lot of people dropped those recently. Okay, do you have a YouTube Premium subscription? Do you have any kind of subscription where unilaterally the other side, the other party has changed the rate and somehow your credit card is still being charged? How is that even possible? How does anyone think that's okay?
Yeah.
And the funny thing about it is I'm not 100% sure why, especially when it comes to web subscriptions. I mean, we still honor our original pricing for Floatplane. And my understanding for that $3 tier is that we don't lose money on it.
No.
So why is it then?
We like meme about it, but we don't.
With YouTube, I kind of get it because I do know that there's storage costs. Even if we ignore the bandwidth costs, which are scaling still, right? They're still going down. The storage costs are not, which is one of the things that I outlined in the YouTube should charge for 4K video that we did a while back, because hard drives used to get exponentially cheaper, and now they don't. In fact, they are leveling out. They're asymptoting at this point, right?
One thing I will argue is that storage has gotten easier.
Interesting.
So while the cost of the drives, and honestly, when you're at Google scale, I'm sure this part doesn't really affect you much because you're working on future engineering or whatever. Like, I'm sure you use all those same people for different things, but the same amount of person effort that would need to go into maintaining a data store at a certain size, globally accessible by everyone around the world, all this other type of stuff, the amount of effort that would go into doing that has gotten easier. So people hours going into it required is less, so costs are down more.
But the problem is also getting increasingly more complex. Are you sure it's fewer development hours?
Okay, so that's the caveat that I put on, is I'm
Right.
sure they would use those people to do other things,
Yeah.
like work on innovation or whatever else.
Yeah, because like I would say that it's not directly related to storage, but if I had to guess, I'd say the development hours that have gone into something like the encoding, the custom encoding hardware that they use now, or
But that's technically like technically other things.
okay, but it's all in service of
for sure.
more efficient codecs, so we can bring down our storage costs.
I do agree. Yeah.
Okay,
But like maintaining the data store is easier now. They have probably shifted those costs to departments that are able to make that data store more efficient or more usable or whatever else.
but then they're probably losing some cost on ever rising energy costs, which are just hammering the data center right now.
It's a decent point as well.
Yeah. So my point is, I actually do kind of understand why YouTube's getting more expensive. I'm not 100% sure for something like a Spotify. I'm not really sure for something like a Netflix.
I find Spotify to be very expensive. I'm surprised at how expensive it is.
I don't pay for it. Like
me neither, but like when I look at the
YouTube Premium is kind of a banging deal.
Yeah.
Considering that YouTube Music is included. You just get the family plan. You find 4 family members. Sorry, I had something stuck in my eye there. And then you're all paying like what does it work out to? Like $4.50 a month, or
once you divide it out.
Yeah, $5.50 a month or something stupid like that for YouTube Premium and YouTube Music.
Okay, so maybe Spotify kind of works the same way because their family plan is 6 people.
Okay, all right.
Which is
Well, that's not too
pretty
bad.
big. So if you use it that way, it's 17 Canadian a month.
If you have a family with 6 people in it,
Yeah.
then it's very affordable.
Yeah.
I mean, family. Family.
Okay, interesting. The family plan with 6 accounts is 17 Canadian, but the duo, so 2 people, is 15 Canadian.
So you should get a bigger family.
Yeah.